It's ultimately a team effort for us in order to meet the demands that someone's got.
Right.
So in order to do that, you've got to have people that understand design, understand engineering, understand construction, and are able to project manage. Those are all different skill sets.
Right.
And no one person has all of that together. So our ability to create the team and to collaborate with that, where there's no ego, we're all working towards that common goal, is absolutely essential. We would not get to where we were if we had single points of failure all over the place and not having a team in place to support that.
This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Welcome to Construction Genius. My name is Eric Anderton. It's a pleasure to have Scott Gable, the CEO of CityLift, back on the show with us today. Scott, welcome back.
Thanks. Good to be here.
You have quite a background working for folks like Wells Fargo. You went to Harvard, you got your MBA there, and you also attended Stanford and got an AB in international relations. But I'd like to take you back just a little bit further. Tell me about the first business that you ever scaled.
Well, I grew up on a sheep and cattle farm up in Oregon.
Oh,
so
nice.
We had livestock, and I started out with my own flock of sheep and had two when I started out, about age 13 at the time.
Uh-huh.
And by the time I went to school for college, I had 60 head.
That's awesome.
And so that made me realize I kind of liked growing things.
That's interesting. That's so interesting. So when you were 13 and you started out with two, what were things that you began to learn as you started to grow the flock in terms of scaling something?
Yeah, I mean, it's an everyday task. You have to work it every day in order to make it. It's a commitment too. It takes time. There's always trade-offs in where you spend your time and your effort. But if you're focused on it and you like it and you get gratification from it, it's worth it.
That's awesome. So fast forward to today. You're the CEO of CityLift Parking, and you design, manufacture, and install automated parking systems. What is your long-term goal for the organization, for the company? So
our goal is to be the dominant brand in the automated parking lift industry.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, it means that we need to be a national company.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have a product that is respected,
mm-hmm.
and we have to stand behind that product.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are focused on that journey right now.
Okay. And as you focus on that, obviously there's a great deal of scaling involved, and it's far more complex than growing from two head of sheep to 60 head of sheep. Why do you think, in your experience, people struggle to scale their businesses?
Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. But I think that ultimately it comes back to you've got to know why you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be a reason for you wanting to scale that.
Right.
Then you've got to look at and make sure that you're really thinking about the resources that are around you in order to get there.
Uh-huh.
Do you have the ability to get there or not? And it's not something that's, always sitting in front of you. You've got to really put some thought into it before you commit to that kind of an objective.
So let me ask you, Scott, why is it that you want to grow CityLift?
I love the challenge
Uh-huh.
of creating something. And in this case, I'm looking to build something that I think will hopefully outlive me.
Interesting.
It's a legacy thing at
Mm-hmm.
this point in time.
Okay. So that idea of legacy, can you tell me a little bit more about that? When you think of legacy, what do you mean by that? What comes into your mind?
Well, I really like the idea of creating something that's got a higher purpose than just me.
Okay.
In other words, I want it to make sense not only to the marketplace, but to the employees, to the investors, to all the folks involved with it. And I think it's incredibly gratifying looking back at other examples I've had in my career, where, I can look back and say there were a lot of people that grew and developed through that time frame, that they actually benefited as well by this. It was not just because of me, but they, in turn, their lives were enriched because they were part of the experience at the same time. And that makes me feel like we've done something that's more than just, an individual's journey.
That's interesting. So the way you're talking around that idea of legacy there, it's not so much the actual product itself, but it's the experience of the people as they're growing that business and creating something, so to speak, out of nothing.
It's also cool to look back and say, look, we did it.
I know that, a lot of construction folks, they just love driving down the road and pointing to a building and saying, we built that.
Yeah.
As the CEO of CityLift, what do you focus on to overcome some of those challenges of scaling that are inevitable when you're looking to grow a business?
So a couple of things come to mind. The first is around the people and the values.
Okay.
So you've really got to focus on making sure that not only do you have a team that's really competent, but they believe that the mission is the mission that they want to be on.
Right.
So that really strikes to the point about the types of things that matter. And so for us, we have core values as an organization. A lot of organizations have them.
Right.
But in order to get there, you've got to have that common vision with everybody, and they've got to believe in what you're trying to do to get there. So for us, for example, being a professional company, standing behind our word, integrity, teamwork, ability to manage to what matters in terms of the types of information, the types of numbers, the things that matter at the end of the day for the business. All of those things are critical, and having a team that believes those is critical too. But it's more than just the team. You also have to have the systems in place to make it happen. In this day and age with technology, you have the ability to enable businesses to scale because the backbone can be built.
Right.
And I learned this lesson at my prior work, particularly with Starwood Waypoint Residential Trust. Mm-hmm. We built a single family residential trust business from a few homes we bought back in early 2009 to over 17,000 homes when we took the company public. And there's no way that could have happened without having the technology in order to manage all of these disparate parts. And CityLift is no different.
That's interesting. So there's three things I'm hearing. Number one is in order to scale a business, you have to have a clear vision of why you're doing it. You need to have a team in place that shares a common set of values and lives according to those values and executes the business on that basis. And then you also need the systems in place to make sure the scaling is happening in a way that's not out of control and is rational and is something that you can grow over time.
Right.
So let me just go back to this idea of values, because you clearly articulated some of those core values. Can you give me an example of a time where you specifically translated one of those values into a decision or into a process or a way that you run your business? Because you're right, because everyone has values, right? And people put them up on their website and then they kind of move on with the rest of their day. What is it that you do or you have done where you integrate those values into the way that you actually behave?
I think how we interact with our customers is probably the best way to show this, because it's ultimately a team effort for us in order to meet the demands that someone's got.
Right.
So in order to do that, you've got to have people that understand design, understand engineering, understand construction, and are able to project manage. Those are all different skill sets.
Right.
And no one person has all of that together. So our ability to create the team and to collaborate with that, where there's no ego, we're all working towards that common goal, is absolutely essential. We would not get to where we were if we had single points of failure all over the place and not having a team in place to support that.
So you need people with different technical abilities. And you just mentioned something there that I think is a challenge for lots of folks. How does someone, do you think, manifest ego in a negative way?
Let me try to turn it into the positive, which is that everybody around the table is trying to solve a problem.
Okay.
So you have a common goal.
Right.
And everyone is trying to contribute to solving that issue.
Right.
If everyone's got the right mindset on it, they can have differences of opinion, but they are discussed in the objective of finding the answer in terms of where we want to go with something. So the point is to not make anything personal.
So I just pictured you as the CEO sitting around a table with a bunch of your guys and gals, and you've got a problem or an issue that you're looking to solve. People have different opinions. They hold those opinions sincerely and strongly. They have technical background, so it's not like they don't know what they're talking about. How do you, as the CEO, help to navigate through those conflicts and bring the team to a decision without the some of the deep challenges that people have when things get personal?
I don't know if I always get it right, but I think the best way to think about this is no different than anything else in life. Always think about what your alternatives are. So when you have a conviction for doing one thing, that's passion and that's exciting. But you don't always get what you want in life in any circumstance. So you've got to think about what is it that are the other alternatives that could still work and it'll still get done.
Where did you learn that sort of alternatives perspective?
Having worked in a lot of teams over time, and you, after a while, figure out what functionally works. I remember at Wells Fargo, where I was there, we had a very large organization and a difficult structure in which to make decisions. And in our particular group, it really took us sitting down and mapping out a process of laying out these alternatives, and having a way to discuss those. That once we did that, then we were able to start overcoming some of the problems that we were having and not making decisions.
One practical way for someone to lay aside their ego is to be willing for that alternative discussion.
Right.
It's really difficult for lots of folks when they see something a particular way and they have strong conviction. It's often very difficult for them to see things from a different point of view.
Yeah. And I did grow up in an environment where I was encouraged to always talk through things. So even when we make a decision as an organization, there is always an option left out there that if we learn something new, that we reserve the right to modify what we've decided.
As you're growing and you're scaling and you're coming across certain challenges and you're interacting with your customers, and sometimes perhaps some of those challenges affect your customers in ways that are not ideal. You're thinking, man, I wish I hadn't gone exactly like that. How do you interact with your customers when those challenges and those problems come up? How do you, as the CEO, lead your people to overcome those and to deal with those customer service issues?
So the customer has the same objective we have at the end of the day. They want it to be successful, whether that's in designing a project and getting it built or in servicing it. We want to make sure that the customer's got we're there to make sure that they're successful because we're only going to be successful if they are. So for us, the big thing is to make sure that, we take that attitude into how we deal with people professionally and focus on getting the problem solved.
What do you mean by professionalism? I know plenty of construction people they're very driven, they're very A-type, they're very blunt, they're very straightforward, they're not particularly diplomatic. What does professionalism mean to you? How do you express that practically?
It's a combination of competence and personal relationships. So you've got to be able to know what you're talking about and be able to explain why something's important. But at the same time, you have to do it in a way that you are working with someone as opposed to just a conflict. Because the conflict usually, while important to have that, occasionally those will come up. You're all trying to get to the same point.
Excellent. So keeping that end point in mind and that customer and yourselves, you're always looking for the same end point and to solve the same problem.
That's right. So an example for us is in our service teams. We hire people who are technically competent, but we'll also hire them with their ability and how they can communicate with customers.
That's excellent. So as the founder and the CEO of your organization and with this vision of wanting to scale it to a nationwide company, that's a heavy lift. Often it's a lonely thing being the CEO of an organization. What do you do to motivate yourself?
Well, I get excited about seeing things grow that are much bigger than me. I like the idea of that this organization will last long beyond my time. So I am excited about the fact that I can see people grow and to develop. I can see the products that we've had and some of the things we described earlier. And, so from my view, it's not about me personally, but it's about the life. I guess if there's a personal aspect to it, it's the life I would like to live. And you only go through this thing once, so you might as well make the most of it. And I think most of it is not about just what I can contribute or what I can create, but it's about what we did. And to be able to look back and say, this was nothing 5 years ago, and to see where we are today and to see what we're going to be doing 5 years later from now.
Right.
In an industry where we are solving a need that is clearly evident out there and doing it in a way where people can feel good about hiring us, knowing that we're going to be there for them, that we're going to stand behind the product, and to be able to do this not just here, but solve it around the country, which we're doing today. Whether it's in the Bay Area or in the Northeast or in all the places up the Pacific Northwest, all the places around the country where we're working right now. It's just exciting to see that this is starting to come together. And automated parking as an industry will come around. Might as well be us that's doing the work.
What you're doing requires a tremendous amount of energy, a tremendous amount of commitment. What do you do on a daily basis to make sure that you're showing up with your A game consistently?
I think it's important to get at least some time to yourself. And people have different ways of doing that.
How do you do that?
For me, yoga and meditation, believe it or not.
I believe it.
Kind of sounds frou-frou.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It really resets my brain.
That's beautiful.
And then the next day, I'm at it again.
Right on. So there's a physical, mental practice that you have apart from the business that strengthens you and energizes you for the hurly-burly of the daily operations.
Yeah. And I don't want to take anything away from the other parts of my life too. I mean, having a family always helps.
Yep. A little bit of perspective.
It does.
That's awesome.
And gives you motivation.
Yeah, it does, huh?
But nonetheless, I think that I think it's also somewhat maybe how people are wired, but I love the challenge. I love being able to come in every day. There's a new set of problems and, we figured them out yesterday. We're going to figure them out today.
Let me ask you another question here, because this is something that I run across a lot in talking with folks who lead companies. Let's say you have someone who's technically competent and you know that they can do the job, but perhaps they're not quite aligned with you in terms of their values. What experience do you have navigating that and resolving some of those challenges?
It's a difficult one. And I'll say it's a weakness of mine too. I tend to even though I find that I have occasionally people that will come across within the organization because they're particularly good at something, I'm naturally inclined to give them a second chance.
Right.
I will talk with them. And in some cases they can see it, in some cases they can't. But if at the end of this process, if for some reason we're still not reaching that value, then they're no longer part of the organization. It doesn't make sense for them. They're going to be unhappy. And that energy will permeate the rest of the organization. So it's important that you deal with that. And, I'm still learning. And I wouldn't say I've got it right after all this time. It's still not got it right.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's so hard when someone, you can see someone is clearly talented and has the potential to make a great contribution. And yet in your heart or in your gut, you're thinking, man, they're not quite a fit. That is a challenge.
And I see it a lot. I think that, you can read a lot of management books and people that are probably more competent than me that have written these things, and I'm sure they believe them, and I aspire to do that. But at the same time, these are human beings, and you have to think about that too.
As someone is looking to grow their business, obviously scaling a business is extremely difficult. You have big plans and an ambition for your organization. What practical advice would you give to someone who owns a construction company and they're looking to really grow it?
Number one, understand why you're going to do it. Why do you want to do it? Mm-hmm. Is there a reason? Mm-hmm. Then that's a genuine internal reflection. You've got to figure out why you want to do it. Mm-hmm. Once you're there, then finding the team, developing that team around that vision, and understanding what has to be that foundation underneath that, particularly from a technology standpoint,
right?
To make that work. So if you have those three things, I think that they're in that order of priority.
Really? Okay.
But all necessary.
Right. Okay. So they work together. They're all necessary, but they are in that order of priority. Finding your why, finding the team, and then building the systems so that you can get that scaling going. Excellent. Now, you're based out of the Bay Area, right?
Yeah, we're in Oakland.
Okay. So I have one question that I like to ask all of my guests, and so maybe a little of a blind side here, but we'll see how you do. What is your favorite restaurant in the Bay Area?
I've got a little Vietnamese place. It's about a mile away that I can walk into wearing shorts on a Saturday night. And
right on.
Get in there just fine. It's PPQ. It's on 19th and Irving in San Francisco.
All right, 19th and Irving in San Francisco. Scott, I really appreciate your time on the show today, and I thank you for joining me here today.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Construction Genius. Hope you found that 1% of inspiration to help you in the next few days. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, share it with other construction leaders who you think would benefit, and always remember that the show is brought to you by Kick-Ass Meetings. I've been working with construction leaders since 2004, teaching them how to run extremely effective problem-solving meetings that gets their people collaborating, taps into their creativity, And to get yourself a free copy of the Kick-Ass Meeting Report, go to www.ericanderton.com/kickassmeetings. Grab yourself that free report, read it, use it in your business. You'll find it extremely useful. And thanks again for listening.